The feature section that we've just created consists of a row with 4 columns, and on a small device they'll be stacked vertically like this. Now that doesn't look too bad, but let's see what happens if we go to a large device. I'm going to collapse the panels here and then double-click the grey area. So we go larger than 1200 pixels, and everything is way too wide. So we need to adjust the layout for both medium and large devices. So let's start with medium devices. That means clicking just to the right of 960 pixels in the Visual Media Queries bar. And everything is indeed too wide. Scroll up, click inside the first column that contains the heading, and then drag the resize column handle to the left, the width of 4 columns. And then we need to center that by selecting the offset column handle and dragging 2 columns width to the center. Do the same with the image. Resize column going in the width of 4 columns and offsetting the width of 2 columns. And then we need to deal with the text down at the bottom. Let's use the offset column first. Align with that. We go in the width of 1 column, and then the resize column handle. We need to drag that in until we're in the center of the image. That's fine. Col MD4, where the width of 4 columns on a medium device. So the last column, we need to get rid of that offset because we're going to be alongside here. And then resize the column, just drag that in. Jumps up as it gets smaller, and then finally we've got the same width. So that looks reasonably okay. So let's go to the size of a large device, double-click in the grey area there. Again, we're still too wide, so we need to just adjust the width and offsets of each column. Do that with the first one. We'll go in the width of 2 columns and offset an extra column there. Do the same with the column that contains the image. And then with the text columns at the bottom, we need to offset by a further column there and go in 1 column and go in 1 column on there. And that looks a lot better. So that's what it looks like on a large device, on a medium device, small device, and on the extra small devices, everything is just stacked vertically and spans the full width. So that's looking fine. The only problem is that it looks all rather bland. Let's just go to the width of a medium device. There's vast areas of white there. White space, although it's good, too much of it can be a bit of a bad thing. So let's add a little bit of color to this. What I'm going to do, I'm going to expand the panels on the right and then switch to the CSS Designer. And I'm going to double click the top of the DOM panel to close it. So I've got more space to work in the CSS Designer. And let's just adjust things so we can see exactly what we're doing. And then to get the colors, I'm going to open another panel, go to the Window menu and select Assets. This is the Assets panel. Make sure that Images is selected at the top, and this shows us all of the images that are in our site. The third one down, colors.ping, select that, and then, if necessary, expand the panel and drag the preview pane at the top so we can see more clearly what we're working with, and these are the colors that we're going to use. We'll use the darker background as the background color for browsers that don't understand gradients. Right, let's get to work in the CSS Designer. In the Sources pane, we need to make sure that Yosemite.css is selected, the global is selected, and then we need to use the feature selector. That's the ID selector, which Dreamweaver will have created automatically when we added that ID. So if we just type in there, #F, it automatically selects feature. Just select that in the Selectors pane. Then in the Properties pane, we need to select Background, And then in the background color well, just click that. It opens the color selector. We need to use the eyedropper tool, so just click that. When we've got the eyedropper, just move across there and go to the darker color at the top left. Just click. That has set that color here. Make sure that hex is selected here because this is for browsers that don't understand RGBA. So just click away from there, and that applies that color. Then the gradient, that's under background image. Click the color well for gradient. And we need to select the top color stop. Currently that's white. Just click the eyedropper tool. Go to the top left color swatch. Click. Then select the bottom color stop in the gradient tool. Go to the eyedropper tool again, and the top right color swatch, just click. And then we can click away, and we've got that gradient has been applied. Now, having applied that gradient, our heading has disappeared because it's the same color as this. We don't need the Assets panel at the moment, so just click that X or the red button on a Mac to get rid of it. And in the Selectors pane of the CSS Designer, we need to add a new selector. So click the Add Selector plus button there, and the selector that we want will be #feature, then a space and H2 for the heading. And then we just need to change the color of that so it's in the text area. Click the text icon, and the color, we'll change that to white. Let's just scroll up to see if that's worked. Yes, that's fine, but I think that it needs to be centered. So with text align, we'll center it. Dreamweaver seems to want to jump around, but there it is. That looks a lot better. And we also need to change the color and the size of the text here. So let's create another selector, and we'll make that #feature space P for paragraph. And the color will also make that white. And the font size, we'll use M. And we'll change that to 1.2 M. And that is now looking a lot better. So that's sorted out the feature section. In the next video, we'll add more content that will be laid out differently depending on the viewport width.